Genealogical Society. My name is Jim McTavish, and I'm going to be acting as chair for the evening. And so just a few bits of information before we get down to the basic presentation for tonight. Just to share some information, we keep it in front of you so that you will have some idea of the various events and activities that are going on. Just again a comment, we do live stream our meetings and they are recorded so that members who are not local, and there are many, most of the members, the majority in fact, do not live in the Windsor area, can see what's going on with our meetings and keep in touch with what's going on. Anybody here who's here for the first time? Welcome. Welcome. We do appreciate you coming. We hope that you will find what we have to offer worthwhile for the researches you might be doing. A little bit about the branch. Locally, if you're interested in keeping in touch with what we do locally, the website is on the bottom here of the slide. And by the way, I will have these slides on the table at the end of the session. So if you want to make any notes or copy down websites and so on, please feel free to do so. We do have a resource collection upstairs on the second floor of the public library branch here. And so it's quite extensive and growing. And so if you are looking to do research on family history, please feel free to go to that second floor, and there will be resource people there who can help you out. We do have monthly meetings with the exception of July, August, and December. So again, we hope that if you've been here for the first time, this will not be the last time that you will come, that you'll find what we have to offer worthwhile. We do have a website, and we're on Facebook, so you can keep connected with the activities of the branch. The website here, again, for your use, and the Facebook group information is also available here. Again, they'll be on the table if you want to access them later in that evening. Next month, we're going on the road again. We have just started doing this in recent months, and it's proves to be fairly successful. The French Society used to be out in Puce. The building that they occupied at that time was closed, and so they had to search for another location, and they have landed at Maryville College on on Prince Road. And so we're planning a road trip to that location next month for our meeting next month, and please note that it will be on a Saturday, May the 6th, from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock. In June, we have a meeting back here, but notice the time, 6 p.m., because the library is on summer hours, beginning in May. So keep that in mind, and we're going to be talking about Serbian Heritage Museum and accessing some of the families that do have families' histories in Europe. The conference, provincial conference, being held in Ottawa on June 16 to 18. It's fairly well subscribed, I gather, at this point. So if you're interested, you can talk to one of the executive members here and get information there. David?
Oh, come on. So those that can't go to the conference, this is breaking news, it's not official yet, but they're planning to stream the Saturday event. And they've asked whether we'd be interested in maybe to stream them here. We've got a room reserved at the university as well. And we may be trying to get like Ayers and Kingsville and all the other family history sites in the area to maybe to try to stream at the same time. So anyway, if you can't make it to Ottawa, we're going to try to bring Ottawa to you. So we'll let you know. Keep in touch. Yeah, thanks, sir.
certainly trying to make as much access to information as possible for your use. Tonight, Google. We're fortunate to have Colleen LaVey, who will do a presentation today on the use of Google in your research for family histories and for your relatives. So certainly this is an area which is growing in the computer access to data. So we welcome Colleen from Chatham. Colleen, it's yours.
Thank you very much. I'm going to apologize ahead of time. I have a cold and allergies, so my voice gets a little scratchy. I'm going to be stopping frequently to take a little drink. It's tea. It's tea. Yes. Thought I'd introduce myself first of all. So Colleen LaVey. I am from Chatham. My family has been in Chatham for a really, really long time. I am a member of the Essex branch. This is the first time I've come to a meeting. I'm pretty excited about it. Okay. So my family background, I'm going to give it to you ahead of time because you're going to see examples in the slides. My mother's family is from England, Collops and Taylors. And they immigrated to Kent County in the 1850s and are in Dover Township, and they never left. We still have the family farm there. And my uncle and my cousin still farm the same land. And they're related to everybody in Dover Township, because that's what they did. They married your neighbors. My dad's side, we've been in Kent County since 1793. The family name is Dolson, and it's United Empire Loyalists. They started out Pennsylvania, went to Niagara, came here to early Sandwich, and then ended up in Kent County. I'm very fortunate that I don't have to go far for my information because it's all in the library. However, there's a lot of information online, and that's what we're here to talk about tonight. So how many of you as a kid preferred the Encyclopedia Britannica over the fictional stories? Actually, I had a love-hate relationship because I really liked the Little House on the Prairie series, but I also really liked the encyclopedias. One of the things that always bothered me about the encyclopedias is you would buy this set of books and they're beautiful and they're on your shelf, and 5 years later they are not accurate anymore. And that's become even more prevalent in the information age because things change so fast. Welcome to your encyclopedia, Google. Google is the world's biggest encyclopedia. The great thing is the information is always up to date. Just start off with a question. Does anyone know how old Google is? Take a guess. 10? Well, as family historians or genealogists, we always go to vital records first. So we'll go to Google's vital records. Google was created by 2 Stanford University students in 1995. So it's been around for a while. It's not a fad anymore. It's here. It's real. The name Google, this was news to me. I didn't know how they came up with the name Google. It's a play on the mathematical expression that's for the number 1 followed by 100 zeros. Obviously, you need to be a math major, but they came up with the term Google. Those 2 students sold Google, the rights to Google, in August of 1998 for $100,000. It's worth so much more now. That's technically when Google was born in 1998, so it's getting on to be almost 20 years old. Google's mission is one of my favorite missions for any company, to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. And if you use Google a lot, you'll know about the Google Doodle, which when you go to the Google website, there's usually some little action thing happening there. They actually have every Google Doodle that was ever used on the Google Doodle page. You can go back and look at any one of them. The links are at the bottom. It's just google.com. So I'm going to take you through, I could be here for 3 weeks and talk about all the things you could do with Google. I picked out kind of the basics, And I've tied it back to my family research where I was able to use it and get something useful out of it. But like I said, we could talk for weeks about Google. So first of all, start off with, is it google.com or google.ca? Well, if you go to Google, it's going to send you to the Google page for your country. So if you're in the United Kingdom, you're going to google.uk. If you're in Australia, you're going to go to google.au. It's going to send you to the closest Google. And the reason for that is so that they can manage information, trying to keep information locally. But you're going to access information all over the world. It's just for managing traffic. You may actually go to a Google page, like the one on the bottom, or it might just be a bar, a Google search bar. Either way, it's the same thing. It's Google. Let's talk about some basics. If you were to go and type in a single word in Google, you could get millions and millions and millions of responses back. The goal is to get more precise and get those results down to a manageable number. So use precise words. So Thomas Collop Ontario Death Records is going to take millions of results down to probably less than 1,000. If you want to get real specific around the name, put them in quotes, and that way it's going to look for Thomas Collop, not anybody who's got Thomas and anybody who has Collop. They have to be together. If you're lucky enough to have a family name that's common, Fox, good example, you can appreciate that you're going to get way more results than you would expect searching on anyone else's name. So you can also start excluding things. So in terms of Fox, you're going to exclude the animal, the news station, and Fox Sports, and that will filter out a lot of the noise that you don't want to see. You can use a range, which is great for a range of dates, or a range of ages, or a range of dollar amounts by just using the two little dots between two numbers. You want to be careful with that, especially if you're not entirely sure of like a birth date and a date of death, because it gets very exact. So you might want to maybe make your range a little bit wider than you are looking for. You can also search within a specific site. So if you know you want to search on Ancestry, by just including site and a colon and the name of the website, it just goes and searches right on that website. Right? And it's very important that you put the most important information first. The example I have there, Ontario Thomas Collop will return different results than just Thomas Collop. The most important information should be at the front end of your search. All right, I'm going to take you through a couple of examples to show you how to use it. Now, if you want to look at sort of these do's and don'ts, if you just go to the Google webpage, there's a help center that gives you all this information because that's where I got it from. Some of the things that you want to avoid doing. Don't phrase your query as a question or a command. Google just ignores it anyway. It ignores all the W words. It's looking for the key pieces of information. You don't have to worry about uppercase or lowercase. Google doesn't care. If you like, I was trained to use uppercase on proper names, and I can't get away from it. But you can use either or. Don't worry about using singular or plural forms of words. Google's gotten really smart. If you put a word in, it's going to make an educated guess that you might be looking for the plural version of that word as well. It'll also return synonyms, so words that mean the same thing. And then don't worry if you're not sure of the spelling, because Google will also suggest spelling. If it doesn't look quite right, it'll say, did you maybe mean this? And you can say, yes, I did. So I don't know how to spell. So I just want to show you a basic search, and I'm using my third great grandfather here, Thomas Collop. He was born in London, England, about 1806, and he's the one that came to Kent County in 1851. Apparently, he didn't find a wife here because he was married 3 times, and every time he went back to England to get his wife, and he'd bring her here, and she wouldn't last long, and he'd go get another.
It's a girl.
Apparently.
You need a guy.
So in this case, I searched for Tom Collop, and I put it in double quotes, so it was looking specifically for Tom Collop. And I'm not sure if you can see it, but I think it's like 348 results. And most of them are pretty current. Like, for example, the first one, that is actually my uncle. He's also Tom Collins, and that's his information out of the phone book. But there's really nothing that has to do with family history there. It's Facebook. There's some pictures that are probably of current information. So we need to put some more information in there to try and get to what we're really looking for. So a more precise search, you'll see that I have put in every information. Tom Collop, Tom, Thomas Collop, or called Thomas. And you'll see in between each one I put or. That is the only command that ever has to be entered in uppercase letters. And the reason for that is Google understands that you want one or the other. If you did put it in capitals, it would actually be looking for the word or. So in this case, I really have a hard time seeing this. We've got 626 results. But now you're going to start to see, oh, there's a genealogy related website. There's Ancestry's got a record on this individual. So you're now starting to get into more of the good stuff. That's what we're looking for, the good stuff, the information around family history. Now, we can go to even a more precise search. In this case, all I did was go to the front end of that search and type in 1806 because I know. And now I'm getting all sorts of interesting information because now it knows, oh, you want something from the 1800s. Okay, that's a different search. So now I'm starting to see historical records on my heritage, starting to see references, genealogical references. There's actually some articles from United Kingdom on there, and now there's some things that you can actually get in there and look at, some good information. I didn't specifically find anything on him, but I did find a Tom Collop that was in jail. Not my Tom Collop, but he was in jail for, I think he hunted a deer on someone's property. Apparently you're not supposed to do that, I think. So,
Pretty much.
But you can see by just changing the way that the information is entered in the search bar, you're getting much more accurate, obviously more relevant information for what you're looking for. The date was important in this case. And you know with records, sometimes it's first name, last name, sometimes it's last name, first name. So what else can Google do? Well, when you search on something from Google, you'll see that there's a bar underneath the search line that has some additional items on it. So there's images, maps, news, videos, and more. And there's so much more you can do with Google and get different types of information. Now in this case, because I want to be an equal opportunity family historian, I flipped over to the Dolson side. And I was searching for my other ancestor, Isaac Dolson. And again, I did the same, first name, last name, first name. Dolson is a name that sometimes is S-E-N, sometimes it's S-O-N, so I put both versions in there. We're going to look at images now, I think. Yes, we're going to look at images. So there's my Isaac Dolson. He was born in 1739 in New York. And he eventually came to Kent County, and that's where he died. In searching for that information, you'll see there's some interesting, I clicked on images, and there's some interesting images there. Some of them are clearly from this day and age. There's some basketball players. Some of them are a little bit older, so those pictures, I did check them all. They're not Isaac, because I don't have a picture of him. There's a picture of a United Empire loyalist, so clearly there's some relationship there because he is a United Empire loyalist. But again, it's like, okay, it's still not what I'm looking for. So what I did is I stuck Kent County in front of his name. And all of a sudden now, I'm getting some really interesting pictures. Pictures of the Dolson Cemetery that's in Kent County. Some newspaper articles that reference his name. William or Billy Dolson, there, the nice picture. Does this have the red? This guy right here. For the longest time we thought that my uncle was really the mailman's because he didn't look like any of the rest of the family. And then we saw this picture. and he was his spitting image of Billy Olson. So throwback genetics, that's all we can say. So what's interesting about this is most of that stuff I knew about. I had that information. But what the heck are these doing in here? They're carvings of ducks and crows. I don't know. So I'm going to tell you about that in just 1 second. I do want to point out, this is a little gem up here. When you're searching, you'll see there's a little camera. You can actually upload a picture. And what Google will do is it will try to identify what's in that picture. And then it will go and find other pictures that are similar. So if you've got a picture of a boat, but it's not quite the boat you're looking for, load it up in there and it'll give you lots of boats that are similar. And maybe you'll get the one that you want.
That's cool.
Also might be good if you've got a picture of something that you're not really sure what it is. Google will take a shot at it. Might not be right, but it will take a shot at it. So basically,
So where do you upload this picture to?
all you need to do is click on the camera.
No, but you have to have the picture.
You have to have the picture or on your phone if you've got it on your phone.
Okay. And what do you do? Tell me. You upload
You
it.
click on the camera and it will ask you where's the picture.
Oh, okay, I can do that. Okay, thank you. Okay.
Just going back from source to take that picture in your hand, put the camera, where do you show it to you?
If you actually have a paper copy of a picture,
Yeah.
you want to take a picture of it with your camera, with the camera on your phone, and then you can upload it to Google.
You have to use those kind of phones.
Then, yeah, you need to have an electronic copy of the picture.
Scan.
You can scan it. Yeah, you can scan it.
Is the picture that would be related to your search?
No, the picture becomes the search subject. Any other questions? All right, let's go back to these carvings. So my grandfather was a duck carver. We don't have any of them. They're gone. They're long gone because he used them for duck hunting. It wasn't an art then. It served a purpose. So when I saw these duck carvings, I was like, oh, maybe it's my grandfather's ducks. And it was. They were on sale on eBay. So the only reason I found that is because I put the name in Google and I clicked on images. And I was like, oh my goodness, these are his ducks. I tried. They wanted $800 for it. I didn't win the bid. I was like, I love you, Grandpa, but that's a lot of money. So yeah, I clicked on one of those duck pictures, and this is where it took me. I just took some snippets off of the web page, but this is someone who is in that industry of antique duck carvings. He has these ducks. He researched who the carver was, which was my grandfather, and lots of research about the family, where they hunted, just all sorts of information that would be someone who's interested in duck carving would be interested in. And apparently, my grandfather also carved crows. And that was something that was rather unique. Most people carved ducks, he carved crows. If you've ever been to Chatham, you know why we might have those.
You know what a crow looks like.
Yes, exactly. So that was a huge win for me because I knew that he carved ducks, and I knew that they were in a book. So I knew that somebody thought they were well done. But to actually be selling them on eBay for $800, that was, wow, that was a big find for me. So what I didn't take out of this was everyone had a simple little stamp that they would put into the bottom of it. So he had his mark that you knew it was his. We can talk after. Maybe I can get it for less than $800. Exactly. So that was hands down my best prize. I wasn't even looking for that. I was just looking for, family history sort of stuff. And I stumbled on that.
Serendipity.
Serendipity. Exactly. All right, what else can Google do? It can do all sorts of wonderful things. So let's look at maps. And I think everyone at one time or other have used maps for driving instructions to try and get someplace. But you could also use it as a map, as an atlas, to find out where places are.
Geocaching.
Oh, yeah, it's fun activity. So I'm going to go back to my 5th great-grandfather here, Isaac, and he is in Poughkeepsie, Dutchess, New York. I'm like, what's that? I don't know what that is. So type it into the Google search bar, but this time I'm going to get maps. Well, actually, when you search first, it comes up and gives you information on the place itself. I said, I want to see where it is. So I clicked on maps, and it shows you exactly where it is. That's on the Hudson River. I think I put a copy and zoomed out. Right, so there's New York, up the Hudson River, and there it is. That's where my ancestor was born. And then my next question would be, well, gee, if I went there, where would I go to get information? Well, you click on that little nearby, and I said, where are the closest libraries? Shows me where all the libraries are. Isn't this great? You could spend hours in here. Well, show me this. Show me this. And because Google Maps is huge, that's if you go and look for driving instructions, you know, all of that information is in there. The little Google cars driven all over the world and captured all that. So it has all that information, and you can get that information. Well, what else can you do? There's news, which doesn't really sort of fit the family history, that's sort of current news. There's videos. I did check. There's lots of instructional videos. Linda and I were talking earlier about if you ever want to know how to do something, go and look at the videos because it'll show you. But I did a little research just to see if I could find anything sort of historical in my family, and I didn't find anything really useful there. But there's this more item. And so what's under more? Well, there's shopping, books, and flights. I didn't think shopping or flights really fit, but books, well, there is an interesting thought. What can we find in books? Well, as it turns out, Google, being the mission, having all the information in the world, making it accessible, they scanned and indexed over 12 million volumes of books. 2 million of them came from Stanford University. And it's listed participating libraries growing to about 30 from around the world. So there's a lot of books on there. And those are books that I'm assuming have gone past their copyright, like you're free to look at them. I put old Isaac back in the books. And what came up were some interesting things around Pennsylvania. Well, that's where he was. He was in Pennsylvania before he crossed over to Niagara. Like, isn't that interesting? Better go check that out, see what's happened there. So I went to the first one, Pennsylvania Archives. And just before we do that, I do want to point out that when he got married in Pennsylvania, that was my clue, and he married Mary Field. Also, her father was also at Empire Wells. Also came around this neck of the woods.
Did that come up with?
No, that's just for my own records, but that's my clue that I was looking for Pennsylvania. So I went into the Pennsylvania Archives, Volume 10, and it turns out it's the Supreme Executive Order calling them traitors because they left. And there's Isaac Dolson, there's George Fields, his sons, Isaac's brother Matthew, they're all traitors. I have a family of traitors to the United States. I knew that already. But this was a find. I had never seen that before. And again, so these are scholarly articles and books from universities that you can search through and get that information. And there's my two. Again, I pulled these out of my own family tree, George Field, my great-grandfather, and Isaac Dolson. And that's something that I don't think I would have found just roaming around on Google. I had to go into Google Books to look for it. Any questions so far? Because I'm taking a look at you.
Just curious, separate theory from it. Were there treasons? People charging them executed for treason. I assume they were executed for treason.
No.
Different use of the word in that time. They were expected to leave the country probably.
I sort of got this, when you don't show up to pay your parking ticket, I got the sense that they weren't showing up for their hearing here.
Don't chase that. They were executed.
It's interesting though is there was also their claims that they put forward for what they lost in terms of property and that was also in those Pennsylvania archives. There was a whole list right down to how many cows that they lost, what land, what crops. were listed there. So clearly they made some claim, but perhaps they weren't invited back. Or at least not immediately.
And the claim probably wasn't honored very much.
Probably not.
This is provincial commissions. Is that Pennsylvania or is that,
Well, there's a Pennsylvania record.
and it's called provincial? I think Pennsylvania is a Commonwealth state.
Yeah.
So they would use terms similar to ours. Okay.
This was from quite a while ago.
It's all terminology.
All right, back to what else will Google do? Yes.
I just had a question. Remember what the term is when you want to ignore some results? Is it a minus sign? Is it the word not in capital letters?
It is a minus sign. I do think that Google did use not at one time, though. They've changed, there are things that they've changed over time.
And I was looking for families and I think about black families, which is not my family, so I was going to ask you
Right.
to get to mine.
Yep, you can try it out. All right, well, these are some of the fun things that you can do through Google. So this is my very great grandfather. He's also my brick wall. There's not enough information on him. I think he died pretty young. The only thing I've been able to find on John Cooper is this marriage announcement that was in the Gore Gazette. And when I was reading that marriage article, it says on Wednesday, the 23-day Ultimo on the River Thames by Reverend P. Morley, missionary child John Cooper Nelson, Esquire, of the Township of Raleigh, married Miss Maria Scarlett of the Township of Tom, a young lady of amiable accomplishments. I didn't know what Ultimo meant, a term I've not heard of before. And I have a dictionary. It's buried in a box down in the basement. So I went to Google and I said, just define Ultimo. And it comes back with a definition that makes a lot of sense. And it's up last month.
Most years.
Yeah.
Ultimo week, ultimo year, ultimo.
So you don't need a dictionary, or if you have one, by all means. I didn't happen to have one handy. You can just type in define in whatever word you're looking to define. Conversions. You probably can't read the cursive writing there. Maybe you can. That is from Daniel Wilson's will. That was John's father. And it reads, commencing near the center of the said lot 14 at the center of a large walnut tree, now standing near the River Thames, then south 45 degrees, east 75 chains, then north 45 degrees, east 16 chains, then north 45 degrees, back to the river. That was the farm line. I had no idea what chains were. My dad told me afterwards he knew what it was, but I'm like, you weren't there at the time. All I do is type in 75 chains to kilometers and it comes up and converts. It'll convert anything. Metric to imperial, distance, anything. Just type in what you want to convert from what to what. And it'll come up and tell you what the conversion is. At our house, the term is, if you don't know, fire the Google box and ask it, and it'll usually answer. So 75 chains is about 1.5 kilometers. Pronunciation. So when I look at Poughkeepsie, I want to call it Poughkeepsie because Po-do-do, that's the way it should read. But because I didn't know, I just typed in pronounce Poughkeepsie. It comes back with, this was actually a little video that you could run and some nice lady would actually pronounce it for you. And she told me it's Poughkeepsie. Now, she might be wrong, I don't know, but it will give you pronunciation of words.
If you're looking for a place in another country, would you put down, I'm looking for pronunciation of cool boy Ireland? I'm sure it's not cool, but that's how it's.
Try and give it as much information as you can. And well, it may not be there, but it might. Some of this stuff, when you get into the specialist stuff, this is where Google is going to, where it's growing.
I might guess that they try and pronounce it the way the locals pronounce it. Because I've heard Poughkeepsie before. I've heard it said that way. I'm assuming that's the local, not the phonetic,
Right.
the local,
Right.
which are services.
Yeah.
I have been there and that is
Poughkeepsie? Poughkeepsie. Translate. Translate. My youngest boy is in French immersion, and so the teachers always told them, don't go to Google, don't use Google Translate because it won't be right. You need to go and figure it out yourself. Well, guess what? Google's right. We actually are using artificial intelligence to interject dialect into the translation. So if you put in an English term and ask to translate it to French or Spanish, it's pretty darn close now. Where before it was a word-for-word translation, it's actually starting to translate it into the proper grammar and proper dialect.
You put in Google, Google Translate. You just put Translate, and then it'll bring up a screen that will say, okay, English or French or
I actually typed in Google Translate here to bring the box up so that it's got, you can choose what the source subject is and what the target subject or target language is. And you can actually listen and they'll actually say it for you. So in this case, I had to give equal time to my husband, so go here, a bit there. And someone transcribed his marriage, which was cursive in like the Quebec Catholic records. Thankfully, someone transcribed it because I can't read that stuff. And I wanted to know what this was. I was pretty sure. I thought Phil was daughter was.
That's it. F-I-L-L-E.
Right. I had 1 year of French in grade 7. So I went to Google Translate, typed it in, and it translated automatically. I think it's, I want to say 70 languages. You can translate from whatever to whatever. And you can actually have it say it out loud to you. Very useful. Yes.
Do you have to put the accents in when you're translating?
I don't think so, because I have a hard time remembering where they are on the number key. You may find to be as accurate as possible, you might want to try to put them in. Because, again, 1 year of French, but I think the accent above an E makes a difference in how you say it.
Okay, is there a way to put in something?
Yes, all the key on your keyboard, and there's a number combination. Actually, Google it. Google it, say, how do I put in French accents on here? And there's usually a one-pager that says if you want, this, whatever you call it, 1 year French. It's Alt 126 that'll put it in for you.
Alt 130 is the accent.
Thank you. I need that for my name.
My son is on the
Yeah, every key or every letter has a key combination on the number pad.
You can also use your character map and just cut and paste.
Yeah. Yeah. Google it. You'll find out. There are also a ton of Google apps that you can go and access off of your phone, off of your tablet, or off of your computer. YouTube, for example, is actually a Google app. It's owned by Google. And so you'll find that often when you click on that video, you're actually going to YouTube and looking at YouTube videos that you're searching on.
YouTube.
Yes.
We stream it.
Yes, that's what we stream with is YouTube, which is under Google. Google Photos. So they used to have a wonderful little tool called Picasa that you could download, and it was a wonderful photo editor that they got rid of because they want you to use Google Photos. That's where Picasa is now. They want you to put your photos up in there. Why? So that they can put them under images and use them when someone's searching for something. But there are a ton of apps there. What I would say is the information that I'm giving you, and I've got some links here that you can refer to. Just be prepared that Google is ever changing, ever evolving, and some things that might have worked last year, they might have changed the way that it works. So for example, the or, the capital OR, if you wanted one or another, you used to have to put in and, capital A and D, if you wanted to search for two terms. It's just implied now. You don't have to put it in anymore. It doesn't mean anything. You just put two terms in, it automatically assumes and. It used to be that you had to be very specific in your spelling. Now Google is smart enough to say, oh, I don't think you quite got that spelled right. I'm going to suggest a spelling. So it's constantly evolving and making it obviously better to get better information. So yes.
I think too, I think it's Google that we do this with. There's a little microphone, and rather than typing things out anymore, you just have to ask a question or put in whatever term you're looking for. And I know my husband uses it all the time.
Yeah. Voice to text. Yep. Yep. Yes, there are. I just showed you the kind of the first list of the Google apps. There's more. You click on more, and there's more apps after that. And yes, that's one of them. It's all about information. Information comes in multiple forms, and that's what Google is focused on. Is being able to access that information and make it understandable. Any other questions? I recommend you fire up that old Google box and see what you can find out around your family history. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
On behalf of Essex Branch, thank you so much for.
Thank you.
You've opened up a whole new world. And that's exciting for sure. Thank you for your time and the information you provided.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, the thing that we use in our family is Google Drive for sharing photos and everyone can upload it to that, send it folder, and kind of what
Yeah. Yeah.
she's talking about. And they're trying to research things.
Yeah, so Google has their own version of cloud storage, and you can use it to share pictures or large files like anyone. I had a problem sending this presentation to somebody through email. It's too big. So we used Office 365 through the OGS, but you could use Google and share information that way.
Is there any legalities in regards to pictures? I'll give you an example that I found scared of Jesus at me where I put in my family name and a picture of my mom and dad's grave site. And that the plaque, the name, date of birth, date of death, and
If you, and you should, for any website you go to, you should read their privacy terms. Anything that you put up on Google, Google owns. So that's why you see that information. So if there's information that you don't want out there, then you should keep it off of Ancestry or any website, because if they can find it, it becomes free to use. Most people just click OK through those privacy terms and don't read that.
if somebody had taken a picture of it and that popped up, they just took me by surprise. I don't know if there was any legalities or like the price.
So interestingly, around privacy, you'll see Google Images where they've gone around with the car and they're taking pictures. Where they've encountered a person, they will have blurred out the face. Because in a lot of countries, Google has been sued for privacy, and so they've had to go back and do that sort of thing. I know I went to our address, the Street View. That's all. When you go to Maps, go to Street View, and it's actually showing you your house on the street. That's because a car drove around and took a picture. And I know on ours, we can see our neighbor loading their canoe up, but their face is blurred out. But yeah, all of that, they've had to, in order to meet privacy regulations, they've had to make it so you cannot identify someone. But like a headstone is not a person, so it doesn't really fall under, and it's public. Anybody can walk up to that cemetery and see it, it's a public record. So it's not, there's no legalities around that. Where there are legalities is if you're sharing information about living people, then that's, of course, if they went on Facebook and would say, oh, look at my license, isn't this great, I got my first license? Facebook owns that picture now, so it's, again, they need to read the terms.
Suicide.
I noticed that you have used .com as opposed to .ca. Is there a reason? Often the beginning you talk about .ca.
If you type .com, it's going to take you to .ca, except like the support, I think they've only got one place. When I went to the health center, I think I was at google.com. But when I'm searching, it's like you are in Canada, you're going to google.ca. Yeah.
Okay. So if you went to the first one, search for ancestors.com, are you looking for American?
No, there are a number of websites that are, they will be .com on the end of them.
Also, the other, more importantly, I'm looking for ancestors in France and Ireland. And so I have, I have when they got here, 18 something, but I don't have, I know where they came from in Ireland, but I don't know how to get to Ireland.
I would stick to primary search, Ireland, year, name of person, and if there's anything that's accessible, it's going to flip over and start looking at those.
I haven't gotten that far, but I think that's where I am now, ready to go.
Yeah, and I'd look in the books because that's where you're going to find the stuff that you find in archives. Those are where you're going to
I'm going to
find.
find archives under books.
Yeah. You'll find anything that a university has that they're willing to,
Like birth certificates.
it's going to be iffy. It's going to be on whether or not they can actually digitize that information. But for example, I found my grandmother, teacher, she went to London Normal School, which is now part of Western University in London. And I found her 1923 yearbook on their archives and a picture of her through Google. Just, again, it's all about getting to where you need to get to. So it's location and date. If you just put the name in, it's going to stick with current, and you'll never find it. Yes?
Oh, I have one more question. I've been trying to search for God's last name for everything. And I found that some of the records crimp and stuff like that. Is there a way to find the name or objections?
So there is. If you can use wildcards, and so there are two wildcards. One is the percentage symbol. That is to replace a single character, and the other is an asterisk, which will replace multiple characters. So if you know that the name starts with KR, it maybe ends in M, but people have messed up the middle, you put KR, asterisk, M, and it's going to give you anything that starts with KR and ends in M. Asterisk is for multiple characters, and the percentage symbol is for a single character. So for example, Dolson, I could have put in DOLS percentage, and it was going to give me anything that those characters, but the E or the O or the A, whatever, it would have given me all instances of it.
Which is box dash in. Okay, I love that in the name. Is that French? Maybe.
Well, does the hyphen, sorry, does the hyphen name have a space on the other side of the hyphen?
I believe.
That's a good one. You might actually have to, I would try it first with the minus sign. And if it is, would be a complex search, but I think you could do, like, put it in quotes. If you put the minus sign in quotes, it becomes not a minus sign, it becomes a hyphen. So it would be complex, but you could put the name in quotes, the hyphen's already in there, so that's exact match. And then the minus outside the quotes becomes less this, and this. But the hyphen inside the quotes would be the hyphen.
Because I found this practice when we were talking, and it sounded like I got it was George Armstrong. But it always brings up George Armstrong pastor. So I tried to put the name in, but it didn't work for that one. It just brought up all the customers.
All the, I think it's, so it's a minus sign, and I think there's a space there. Did you put a space after the minus sign? Try that.
How many sugar they can stop with?
I know.
It was on.
What's that?
Ancestry and we're doing.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's possible, Phil.
I would like to just share a couple of personal things in the last couple of weeks that I've encountered based on what you said. I'm doing a family history, and there are books in the Perth County Archives which talk about the family farms in great detail. But what happens is, when you do that, I was reading through, and it said in the 20s, my father and his brothers introduced a tractor, the first tractor, to the farm, and that it was a Titan one-cylinder tractor. And I'm thinking, what did that look like? I Googled it. There was a picture of it. There was a farm influence show where they were running these tractors up and down exactly what they brought in. I thought, holy mackerel, you know. And another thing that I did recently in that kind of research, I was looking for, that we have material that had been passed down over generations, the original materials and articles. And it said that one of the books that talked about the Scottish immigration from in the 1830s, 40s, there was a book written called The Hills of Home, which I had never heard of, but they said it was a book that you could research. So I Googled The Hills of Home, found out the author, I looked for sources, turned out there was a copy of it here at the Windsor Public Library. So it works. Thank you so much again. Please, if you have further questions, don't hesitate to speak with Colleen. Thank you very much. Material at the back on the tables there, sorry, that material back there, if there's anything you want, is free.
And I just noticed that, how do you use Google to research your genealogy? Irish ancestors on the net.
There you go.
Irish ancestors on the net, yeah. Oh.
Any questions? You said that the on the second floor, there's
Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
resource